Tom walked through the school gate early in the morning with his old backpack on one shoulder and a quiet look in his eyes. The sun was still hiding behind the clouds, and the parking lot was almost empty. He liked this time of day because everything was calm and peaceful and nobody was around to stare or ask questions. Tom worked as the school janitor and had done so for the last 5 years. He cleaned the hallways, mopped the floors, fixed broken lights, and sometimes even helped lost kids find their classrooms. He did all of it without making a sound and without expecting a thank you. Most people didn't notice Tom. He wore the same blue jacket every day and walked with his head low. Students passed him in the hall without looking twice. Teachers nodded but never really stopped to talk. He was just the janitor, the man with the mop, the one who came in after the mess was made. But Tom had a secret, a quiet story that no one knew. He was a single dad raising his little boy Jake all by himself. His wife had passed away 3 years ago after a long illness, and since then it was just the two of them against the world. Every night after his shift, Tom would walk home with tired feet and sore hands. Jake would be waiting at the window with a big smile and a warm hug. Tom never complained, even though life was hard and money was tight. He worked extra hours, took side jobs, and skipped meals just to make sure Jake had what he needed. But no one at the school knew this. To them, Tom was just a man with cleaning tools and a quiet face. That Monday started like any other. Tom entered the building, unlocked the doors, turned on the lights, and picked up his mop. The floors were wet from the rain outside, and students would be arriving soon, so he worked fast. As he cleaned, he hummed softly to himself a song his wife used to sing while cooking in the kitchen. He was mopping near the gym when he heard music, not from a speaker, but from inside the gym itself. It was soft, like a piano playing slowly, like someone was practicing for something important. Curious, Tom pushed the door open and peeked inside. What he saw made him stop for a second and hold his breath. In the center of the gym was a little girl in a wheelchair. She was alone, spinning slowly to the soft music with her arms raised like a ballerina. She looked about 9 or 10, with brown hair tied in a ponytail and a big pink bow on her head. Her wheelchair sparkled a little in the gym lights, and her face was full of joy. Tom stepped inside, quietly, not wanting to interrupt. He stood by the wall, watching her move with such grace and happiness. It was as if the world around her had disappeared, and all that remained was the music and the dance. He looked around and noticed the rest of the gym was empty. No teachers, no students, just the girl and her music. The decorations suggested there was going to be a school dance or show soon. But this girl was not rehearsing with others. She was dancing by herself. Tom's eyes softened. He remembered how his son Jake loved to dance in the living room with his mother. Back then the house was full of laughter and music and love. Now it was quiet, but he still remembered every step. As Tom turned to leave, the girl noticed him. She smiled and waved. Tom smiled back and gave a small wave with his mop hand. Then something happened that he didn't expect. The girl rolled over to him and asked with a sweet voice, "Will you dance with me?" Tom was surprised. He looked around again, thinking maybe a teacher would step in or tell her no. But no one was there. Just him, the girl, and the music. He bent down a little to her level and said softly, "Are you sure?" She nodded with a big smile. "Please," she said. "No one ever wants to dance with me." Tom felt something stir in his heart. He didn't know this girl, but he knew what it felt like to be invisible, to be left out, to be forgotten. So he put the mop aside, took her small hands gently, and began to move with her. Slow, simple steps. He spun her wheelchair slowly, while she laughed with joy. They danced to the soft piano music, as if no one was watching. What Tom didn't know was that someone was watching. From outside the gym door, just behind the glass, a woman stood with tears in her eyes, holding her phone. She had seen the whole thing, and her life would never be the same again. Lily loved music more than anything in the world. She said music made her feel like she could fly, even if her legs didn't work like everyone else's. Every morning before class, she asked her teacher if she could go to the gym early, just to dance a little before the day began. The teacher always said yes because Lily was polite and sweet and never caused trouble. She would roll her wheelchair into the gym and play her favorite soft piano song on the speakers. Then she would close her eyes, lift her arms, and move like she was on stage. No one ever joined her. She was used to that. Most kids didn't talk to her much. Some were kind, but shy. Others just didn't know how to act around someone in a wheelchair. But Lily didn't let that stop her. She smiled every day. She practiced her dance moves in her chair. She believed in kindness and magic and small miracles. She dreamed that one day someone would dance with her just once, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. That morning she had just started her song when she noticed someone standing near the gym door. It was the janitor, the man with the kind eyes and quiet steps. She had seen him before, cleaning the halls, fixing the lights, always moving, always working. But today he wasn't holding his mop. He was just watching. Not in a weird way. In a kind way, like he saw her, like he truly saw her. So Lily did something she had never done before. She waved at him and called out, "Will you dance with me?" The janitor looked surprised. He looked left, then right, as if he wasn't sure she meant him. Then he walked toward her slowly and knelt beside her chair. "Are you sure?" he asked. She nodded with a smile that lit up her whole face. "No one ever says yes," she said softly. He looked at her for a moment, like he was thinking about something important. Then he set his mop down gently and said, "All right, let's dance." What happened next was something Lily would never forget. The janitor took her hands and moved with her. He turned her chair in slow, careful circles, while she moved her arms with the music. He stepped in rhythm, as if he had done this before long ago. Maybe he had. He smiled a little, and she laughed out loud. They danced like it was the most natural thing in the world. Outside the gym, a woman stood quietly watching through the glass. She didn't move. She didn't blink. She just watched with wide eyes and a hand over her mouth. That woman was Lily's mother. Her name was Rachel Stone. She was the richest woman in the city. She owned companies and buildings and had meetings every day with important people. But nothing she saw in those meetings ever touched her heart the way this did. Rachel had come to school early to surprise her daughter. She wanted to bring Lily her favorite breakfast and a new dress for the school dance. But when she reached the gym, she stopped. She saw her daughter dancing with the janitor. And she saw something else too. She saw happiness on Lily's face. Pure, honest joy. Rachel felt her throat tighten. She pulled out her phone and recorded a few seconds of the moment. Not to post or share, but to remember. To hold onto that feeling. She couldn't move. She just stood there frozen, watching a moment she knew was rare and real. The janitor didn't know she was there. Lily didn't either. They were lost in the music, in the kindness, in the moment. When the song ended, Lily clapped and laughed and said, "That was the best dance ever." The janitor smiled and said, "You're a wonderful dancer." Then he picked up his mop and quietly walked away. Lily sat in her chair, smiling and spinning slowly to the music again. Rachel waited until he was gone. Then she walked into the gym with her eyes still wet. Lily saw her and waved. "Mom, you're early." Rachel walked over and hugged her tight. "You look so happy," she whispered. "I was," Lily said. "He danced with me. He really danced with me." Rachel nodded and kissed her daughter's forehead. Then she looked at the gym door. She had a new thought in her heart. That man, the janitor. She needed to know who he was. She needed to find out everything about him. Because people like that didn't just appear in your life every day. And she had a feeling, a strong one, that this was only the beginning of something much bigger. Rachel couldn't stop thinking about what she saw in the gym. All day the image stayed in her mind like a painting she couldn't look away from. Her daughter dancing with a man most people ignored. A janitor with old shoes and tired hands. But also a man with something rare in his heart. Kindness. Gentleness. Real human warmth. She sat in her car after leaving the school and didn't turn the engine on. She just stared at the wheel and whispered to herself, "Who is he? Who is the man who danced with my little girl like she was the star of the world. Rachel was used to fast decisions and big deals. She signed papers that changed lives every week. But this was different. This was personal. She pulled out her phone and opened the short video she had recorded. Just a few seconds of the dance. No filters, no edits, just pure truth. She watched it again and again. The janitor spinning Lily's chair gently while her arms moved with the music. Lily's laugh. His smile. The moment where they forgot the world. Rachel had everything. Money, cars, staff, private schools. But no amount of money ever brought that kind of joy to Lily's face. She knew that, and it hurt a little. Because it took a stranger with a mop to give her daughter something she couldn't. That night she called the school office. She didn't say she was a billionaire. She didn't say her name. She just asked a simple question. Can you tell me who your janitor is? The woman on the phone paused, then said, You mean Tom? Rachel wrote the name down. Tom. That was it. Just Tom. He's quiet, the woman said. Keeps to himself. Very kind. Single father, I think. Has a young son. Does extra hours whenever we ask. One of the good ones. Rachel thanked her and hung up. Her mind was racing. She didn't want to embarrass him or make him uncomfortable. She wanted to do something that mattered. Something that felt as real as that dance. Meanwhile, Tom walked home after work like he did every night. His shoes were wet from the rain, and his back hurt from lifting broken chairs earlier. But his heart felt lighter than usual. He kept thinking about the girl in the gym. How happy she looked. How bright her eyes were. How sweet her voice sounded when she asked him to dance. He smiled to himself as he turned the key to his small apartment. His son Jake ran to the door, like always, and hugged him tight. Did you fix something cool today, Dad? Jake asked. Tom laughed a little and said, Yeah, buddy, I fixed something special today. They had soup for dinner, and Tom helped Jake with his homework. Later, when Jake was asleep, Tom sat on the old couch and closed his eyes. The dance came back to him. The way the music felt. The sound of Lily's laugh. He didn't know why it stayed in his mind, but it did. Like something important. Something he didn't fully understand yet. The next morning, Rachel got up early and dressed in simple clothes. No expensive suit, no makeup. Just jeans and a sweater. She wanted to visit the school again, but this time not as a billionaire mom. She wanted to see Tom face to face. To thank him. To understand him. To do something for someone who never asked for anything. She arrived just after sunrise and saw him unlocking the back door of the school. He didn't see her at first. He was carrying a toolbox and wiping rain off the handle with his sleeve. She walked closer and said softly, Hi. He turned and gave her a small, polite smile. Morning, he said. Can I help you? Rachel paused. She had rehearsed what to say in her car, but now the words felt heavy. I saw you yesterday, she said. With my daughter Lily. You danced with her. Tom's eyes widened. Oh, yes. She asked, and I couldn't say no. She's wonderful. Rachel smiled gently. You made her feel like she mattered. Like she was just like everyone else. And that means more than I can explain. Tom looked down a little shyly. I didn't do much. Just danced. But Rachel shook her head. No, you did everything. And I want to talk to you. Not here. Somewhere quiet. If that's all right. Tom hesitated. He wasn't used to attention. But something about her eyes felt kind and real. All right, he said slowly. Just let me finish my shift. Rachel nodded and walked away. She didn't know what the next step was. But she knew this. The man who danced with her daughter had just touched her heart in a way that no one ever had. And she wasn't going to forget it. Rachel sat in her car with her hands on the wheel, but she wasn't driving. She kept thinking about Tom the janitor who danced with her daughter like she was royalty. No cameras, no audience, just a man and a child and one beautiful moment that made time stop. She had built companies from nothing, raised money for hospitals, sat in meetings with world leaders, and solved problems that made headlines. But this moment was different. It wasn't a problem to solve. It was a gift to receive. and she knew deep down that she couldn't let it end there. Rachel picked up her phone and called her assistant. Her voice was calm but strong. "I need everything you can find about a man named Tom. He works as a janitor at Lily's school. He's a single father, and he danced with my daughter yesterday. No, I don't want to scare him. I just want to know who he is." Her assistant didn't ask questions. She trusted Rachel. Within 2 hours, Rachel had the basics. Tom was 38 years old. His wife passed away from cancer 3 years ago. He had a son named Jake, who was 9. He worked full-time at the school and sometimes helped at a repair shop on weekends. He had no debts, no record, no complaints. Just a man doing his best. Rachel stared at the screen. Her heart felt heavy and warm at the same time. She had met many people in her life, but none like Tom. Meanwhile, at school, Tom was back to work like any other day. He didn't expect anything. He didn't even know Rachel had been watching him that morning. He just cleaned the halls, smiled at the kids, and stayed quiet like always. But something felt different. He kept thinking about the woman who came to him and thanked him. She had a gentle voice and eyes that looked like they had seen both joy and sorrow. She didn't say her name, but Tom guessed she was someone important. He didn't know how important. Later that day, while fixing a broken desk in the teacher's lounge, Tom got a call on the school phone. A woman asked if he could come to a nearby office building after work for a quick meeting about a job opportunity. Tom was confused. He hadn't applied for anything, but he could use the extra money, so he said yes. After school, he changed into his cleanest shirt and walked to the address. It was a tall, shiny building with big windows and fancy lights. Tom looked up at it and took a deep breath. He didn't feel like he belonged there, but something told him to go inside anyway. A kind receptionist led him to a private office on the top floor. Tom walked in and froze. Sitting there was Rachel, dressed in a soft gray sweater, no jewelry, no heels. Just simple and calm and smiling. "Hello, Tom," she said. "Thank you for coming." He looked confused but nodded. "I was told there was a job meeting here." "There is," she said, "but not the kind you think." She stood and walked over to him. "You danced with my daughter Lily. You made her feel like a star. You didn't do it for attention or reward. You just did it because your heart is good." Tom looked down. "I didn't do anything special," she asked. "I said yes." Rachel shook her head. "That is special. In a world full of no, you said yes. And that's why I want to help you." Tom blinked. "Help me?" She nodded. "I own this company and many others. I meet people who want to impress me every day. But you impress me by doing something pure and kind." She walked to her desk and picked up a folder. "This is a job offer. Better pay, shorter hours, full benefits, and a scholarship program for your son Jake. You'd be part of our building team in this company. Still fixing things, but with respect and support." Tom stood still. His mind was spinning. "Why would you do this for me?" he asked quietly. Rachel smiled. "Because someone like you should never go unnoticed. Because you gave my daughter something priceless. And because I believe when we see goodness, we shouldn't walk away." Tom took the folder with shaking hands. He didn't know what to say. He had never been given anything like this before. All he ever did was say yes to a girl who wanted to dance. Rachel stepped closer. "Take your time. Think about it. No pressure. But just know, this offer is real. Because your kindness was real too." Tom nodded slowly. He couldn't find the words. But in his heart, he knew. Something big was changing. Tom walked home, holding the folder tightly in his hands. His heart was beating fast like a drum that wouldn't stop. The papers inside offered more than just a new job. They offered a new life. A better life for him and his son Jake. The sky was cloudy and the air smelled like rain, but Tom didn't notice. His mind was too full. He kept thinking about Rachel, the woman who saw him dance with Lily, the mother who thanked him in person, the person who changed everything without asking for anything in return. When Tom got home, Jake was sitting at the table doing homework. He looked up and smiled. "Hey, Dad. You're home early." Tom smiled back and ruffled his son's hair. "Yeah, buddy. I have something to show you." They sat together on the couch, and Tom opened the folder. Jake didn't understand all the words, but he saw the number written on the top page. "Dad, is this for real?" Tom nodded slowly. "It's a new job offer. More money, better hours, health insurance for both of us, and even a scholarship if you want to go to college one day." Jake's eyes lit up. "Can we move to a better place? Can we get a dog?" Tom laughed for the first time in weeks. "Maybe we can, buddy. Maybe we can." That night Tom couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what this job really meant. He had spent so many years working long hours in silence. Always in the background. Always tired. Always pushing forward just to make it to the next day. And now someone had seen him. Not just as a janitor, but as a father. As a man trying his best. As a human being with a good heart. He thought about Lily too. How she smiled. How she laughed when they danced. That little moment had meant something to her. And it had changed everything for him. The next morning Tom put on his cleanest clothes again and returned to the office building. This time he walked with more confidence. He was still nervous, but he also felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Rachel was waiting for him in the same office. She stood when he entered and smiled warmly. "Tom, I'm glad you came back." He nodded and held out the folder. "I want to accept the offer. If it's still open." She smiled even brighter. "It is. And I'm so happy to have you on the team." They sat down together and signed the papers. Rachel explained everything in simple words. Tom listened carefully. He asked questions when he needed to. She answered with patience and kindness. Before he left, she reached into her drawer and handed him a small envelope. "What's this?" he asked. "A little something to help while you transition. There's a card inside too. It's for Jake. From Lily." Tom opened the envelope when he got home. Inside was a gift card for groceries and clothes. Enough to make a big difference for the next few weeks. And a colorful note drawn with crayons. It said, "Thank you, Mr. Tom, for dancing with me. You made me feel like I was flying. From Lily." Tom felt tears in his eyes as he read the words. He sat quietly for a few moments, holding the note to his chest. He had no words, just feelings. Gratitude, joy, peace. The next few days moved quickly. Tom gave his notice at the school. The principal was surprised but happy for him. The teachers clapped when he told them. Some of the students even hugged him. "You were always so kind," one girl said. "You helped me when I dropped my books. I'll never forget that." Tom smiled. He hadn't realized how many people he had touched just by being himself. On his last day at school, Lily was waiting in the hallway with a big smile. She rolled over and held out her hand. One last dance. Tom took her hand and spun her chair just like before. They laughed and danced for a few quiet moments. A few teachers watched from the doorway, smiling with soft eyes. After the dance, Lily said, "You're going to be great at your new job. And I'm going to keep dancing." Tom knelt beside her and whispered, "You already are great. Never stop dancing, Lily." As he walked out of school doors, for the last time the sun broke through the clouds above. He looked up and smiled. He had clean floors. He had fixed pipes. He had wiped down windows that no one looked through. But today he felt seen. He felt ready. A door had opened, and he was walking through it with his head high and his heart full. Tom started his new job on a bright Monday morning. The sky was clear and the air felt fresh, like it was welcoming a new beginning. He stood in front of the tall glass building, wearing his new uniform and holding his old lunch bag. He took a deep breath and stepped inside, ready to begin this next chapter of his life. Everyone in the building greeted him with smiles. The staff showed him around the floors and introduced him to the team. They spoke to him with respect, not as a janitor, but as a valued worker. His tools were clean, his tasks were clear, and for the first time in a long time, he felt like he belonged. The hours were shorter, but the pay was better. Tom now had evenings free to spend with Jake. They cooked together, watched old movies, and sometimes danced in the living room just for fun. Jake started doing better in school too. He was happier. He saw his dad smiling more, and that made everything feel safer. One evening, Rachel invited Tom and Jake to her home for dinner. Tom was nervous at first, but Jake was excited. They arrived at a beautiful house with a garden full of lights and flowers. Lily was waiting at the door, wearing a blue dress and a big smile. "Hi, Jake," she said. "Want to see my room?" Jake nodded and followed her inside, while Rachel welcomed Tom with a warm hug. "Come in," she said. "You're family now." The dinner was simple but full of laughter. Rachel told stories about her childhood. Tom shared how he used to build model airplanes with Jake. The two kids played board games on the floor and laughed like they had known each other forever. After dinner, Rachel and Tom sat outside on the porch while the kids played in the yard. She looked at him and said, "You know, I never told you this. That day, I saw you dancing with Lily. I had just come from a meeting where everything went wrong. I felt like giving up. But then I saw you too. And suddenly nothing else mattered." Tom looked down with a soft smile. "I didn't know anyone was watching. I just wanted her to feel happy, even for a moment." "And you did," Rachel said. "You gave her a gift I never could. You saw her when no one else did. And you gave her the freedom to just be herself." Tom didn't know what to say. He had never been praised like this before. He had always just done what needed to be done. But now someone was telling him it mattered. That he mattered. The weeks passed and life began to bloom in new ways. Tom was saving money. He and Jake moved into a better apartment with more space and sunlight. Jake made new friends and even joined a soccer club. Tom started fixing things around the building with pride. People greeted him by name and thanked him for his work. One day, a coworker said, "Tom, you always show up with a smile. You make this place feel like home." Tom smiled. He didn't need trophies or big speeches. He just needed this. A life where he could care for his son. A place where his kindness made a difference. A world where saying yes to a small dance could lead to everything he never dreamed of. He still visited the school sometimes. Lily always waved when she saw him. And they danced every now and then just for fun. No crowd. No music. Just joy. Rachel continued to support Tom quietly. She never made him feel small. She never treated him like a project. She treated him like a friend. Like family. One afternoon, Tom stood by the window in his office, looking out at the city below. He thought about his wife. He whispered a soft thank you. Thank you for the strength. For the love. For the quiet courage that brought him here. He picked up a photo of Jake and smiled. Then he picked up his tools and walked out to fix a broken door down the hall. Still working. Still serving. Still carrying the same heart that said yes to a little girl who just wanted to dance. And somewhere deep in his soul, he knew this was not the end of his story. It was just the beginning.